hello, and welcome to the Leadership Reality Podcast with your girl, Tige Charity. This podcast is for C-suite leaders to discuss their experiences and provide insight, encouragement, and inspiration for seasoned and inspiring leaders, offering valuable solutions to today's challenges that will inspire, ignite, and invigorate new and seasoned leaders to walk in their God-given authority with compassion, kindness, and empathy. So sit back, relax, and be prepared to be inspired with today's episode of Leadership Reality. Thank you. Welcome to another episode of Leadership Realities with me, Tige Charity. Y'all, today's guest is the beautiful and venerable Angela Lee. Angela is a dynamic CEO and minister leader who resides in Northwest Pasadena, California with her husband, Paul, and their 3 children. With over 15 years of experience in vocational ministry and community youth development, Angela has been the executive director of Harambee Ministries since 2022. In this role, she continues the impactful neighborhood ministry and carries on the legacy of John and Vera Mae Perkins. Angela's rich heritage shapes her approach to leadership. As the eldest of 4, she draws inspiration from her African American father and her Puerto Rican mother, who instilled in her a deep love for others and a steadfast commitment to service. Angela has served on the board of Pasadena Christian School and the Leadership Council for Collaborate Pasadena. Guided by her passion for Jesus, justice, and mental health, come on now, Angela channels her diverse background and family values into her work, all while surviving on coffee and walks with her dog, Teddy. Okay? We all need a Teddy, a dog named Teddy. I am super excited. Angela, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. It's so weird sitting and listening to somebody read your bio. It's just always
and that was
strange.
just a fraction of your bio because you have accomplished so much and just a leader in your right. When I was telling my team members that you were going to be here, I had some that were very excited. And I get the pleasure of working closely with your husband who works at Kids in the Spotlight. I like to tell everybody he keeps us all sane around here, okay? He's our company comedian.
Listen, that's him through and through. That man loves making people laugh. So.
I love it. Well, first of all, I want to talk to you because I know we are in California and a lot of wildfires are everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're having to balance just in the Pasadena area where the Eaton fire has, affected your area. And also leading your organization. What has that been like for you navigating this just, oh my gosh, unbelievable, surreal experience that we're all dealing with here in Southern California?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot. I think the theme of the last few weeks has just been overwhelming. Yeah. And I don't love using that term like in excess because I think sometimes it can feel overused. Yeah. But there's no other way to describe the fact that every aspect of everybody's lives was literally at 10 out of 10 all the time, right? Yeah. For myself, I'm a mom of 3 children. We had to evacuate our home. We walked out the back door and could see the fire over the ridge, and we were like, we need to get out of here. And the fire came within a block of our house, and so you got to think just as a wife, mom, that aspect of it was already at 10, and then. Our organization, we live on the property where our organization sits. There's an acre of land. Yeah, where 7 houses are, and 3 of those houses are community center, and 4 of them are residences. So I'm also then as a ED sitting there being like, God, please don't let this property burn because this property is our legacy. Also, we're in the middle of the neighborhood, and that's what really makes us special is that we're in the neighborhood with the people. Yeah. And so then all of those things from a very logistical standpoint were very stressful. And then you zoom out. We left our house Tuesday night. By Wednesday morning, we're already dealing with deaths. We're already dealing with families who lost everything overnight, who, left because and only took a few things because they thought they were going to go back in a few hours. Yeah. And people who went from having generational wealth in their homes to then nothing, right? Literally within hours. From Tuesday night, we left our house at 11:30, and the first Zoom call that I got on was at 9 a.m., right? So I think things were moving so fast. Yeah. And so in all of these dimensions of my life, things were just overwhelming. It was difficult as a pastor to like sit and hold grief with people while also very much reacting to the tension in my body and paying attention to how my nervous system was reacting, right? And then also trying to navigate conversations with a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old of why we can't go home, you know, and checking my phone. So all of those things, I like to say often, as a leader, our lives are not compartments. We are big stews, right? In every room we walk into, as I'm sitting here with you, I am just as much a mom as I am a leader, as I am a pastor, a friend, sister, daughter, all those things. All of those things are within me at one time. And I think the job of a leader is to stay integrated, right? To not parse out our life. To make other people comfortable, because I think we show up best when we show up our full selves. The complication of that is that when you're dealing with a crisis like the Eaton fire has been in the Altadena and Pasadena area, that means that when I'm not okay, I'm not able to show up well in any area. I think that the lesson that I've learned these last 10 days has been just being honest with myself and with my team.
Giving yourself permission to say it's okay not to be okay.
Absolutely. And on the days when I could only answer one phone call or send 3 text messages in my community work because I'm dealing with so many things personally, I was just transparent about that. And I think that as a community, I have never seen more beauty, more resilience.
Unity.
I think more, unity, generosity. I think perseverance. I think also the idea, Harambee, the organization that I run, our name is Kiswahili for let's get together.
I was going to ask you to share the meaning of the name.
And so that's the meaning of our name. And I think I've seen the spirit of Harambee more in these last 2 weeks than I have in my entire time in being in Pasadena. And it's just been really powerful to see people recognize that and say to me, we lost our house, but we didn't lose our home. Right? We lost our house, but we didn't lose our community. And we feel that, and them sharing that with us and being so generous with that. We've just seen it across the board. It's been really powerful to witness.
You know, it's so much to unpack. I mean, just the thought of, first of all, having to pack within such a short period of time. How do you even determine, like, what do you take? What's important to take right now? And do you even think that way? Or is it just, let's just get out and we'll think about that on the back end?
Totally.
But in some cases, there was no back end because you lost everything. Right?
Yeah, it's a very surreal feeling. I knew that the fire had started, and so I said to my husband, I said to Paul, I was like, I think I'm just gonna like pack a suitcase, like one suitcase for the girls, like just in case we have to like up and go. I'll make sure that I've got their stuff together, because again, 4 and 6, they need like a few different things, layers, whatever. So then my phone starts pinging, and I just was like, I think I need to pack for me and him. And I did the worst job packing for me and him because I was freaking out. We had nothing. It was really a useless suitcase. And it's a very surreal feeling, walking around your house, looking at pictures on the wall and trying to make the decision of like, can I replace that, or is that really irreplaceable? And as a joke, me and Paul, when we got out and we were like at this other person's house, we're like sitting on the floor with our suitcases, and I was like, man, our kids are really well packed and we have nothing. But we're like joking about, okay, what do we wish we had with us? And for Christmas we bought our 4 and 6-year-old bunk beds for Christmas. And Paul was like, you know, I wish we had grabbed those bunk beds.
Oh my God. That is such a Paul response.
I know. We had just spent all that money, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was thinking of the same thing. But you know, we grabbed our passports, we grabbed the birth certificates, we grabbed the stuff that mattered. But it is a very strange feeling, and I'm thankful because we are so much more lucky that we're so much luckier than some families who only had 30 minutes to get out, right? There's police who are banging on people's doors like, you got 30 minutes and we can't stop the fire. It's right here, right? And so for us, we had the gift of an hour, right? We had the gift of an hour and a half before anything was really crucial to think through a little bit more strategically. But for some people, our families, our Harambee families, they have what was on their back.
Yeah.
and what was in their car, whatever was in their car.
Tell me the mission of Harambee.
Yeah, we exist to nurture and equip the next generation of leadership by holistically ministering to the needs of the community. We do that through relocation, redistribution, and reconciliation.
Talk about living out the mission.
Listen, and so and what that's looked like we're a 43-year-old organization, and so that's looked a few different ways over time. But one of the things that has stayed consistent about our mission is we do not do programming unless the community asks for it. We got started by doing a 10-block survey where our founders, John and Vera Mae Perkins, they literally walked door to door and they were asking neighbors, what do you need? And at that time, Northwest Pasadena, a lot of people don't know this, but Howard and Navarro was known as Blood Corner because it had the highest daytime crime rate in LA County.
Daytime crime rate?
Daytime crime rate in LA
Really?
County. Yes.
Wow.
And this is in the 80s. And so when they're asking the neighbors, what do you need? Neighbors are coming and saying, we just need a safe place for our kids to go after school because right now the gangs that are running this neighborhood are holding us hostage and basically making our kids shuttle drugs. And as long as our kids shuttle drugs, our family can be safe.
Right.
But we don't want that life for our kids.
Right.
And so Ms. Vera Mae, the back door of her kitchen used to open to an alley where the kids would walk back to like a prostitute tent city. And so they would walk by, and so she'd be cooking after school. And you know what happens when a good Southern mom is cooking, right? Little kids peek
and
their
feeding
heads
the
in.
neighborhood, right?
Exactly. And
Yes.
so, kids would sit down on her kitchen floor, and she would share the gospel with them. She would feed them. She would help them with homework. And that's how Harambee got started.
Wow.
And that's really where this idea of Christian community development came from, of understanding that it's not our job to come in and tell a community what they need.
Yeah.
It's our job to listen first, assess, and then identify the leaders within the community that can then help us solve that problem.
Yes,
because
that's good.
those who are in the community are best equipped to solve the problems the community's facing.
But that's such a good sign of a leader, to see the leadership qualities in someone else and pour into them. And I know in ministry work, sometimes we even call it discipling.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
When you're discipling the next generation of leaders, and not just, not necessarily leader, but just Christ followers.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
When you're pouring into their lives.
And it's necessary.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it's the necessary of the withness, right?
Yes.
Of being with. That's why my house is on the property, right? It's historic that the executive directors of this organization live in the community that we're serving. It's
That's good.
not uncommon for people to come knocking on my door and being like, hey, y'all doing food distribution soon? Or, hey, we need this, or, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not uncommon.
So you live the mission.
And
because
it's
you're right
imperative.
there.
Yeah.
Wow. So how rewarding does that feel for you to be that up close and personal with the community you serve? Because I'm feeling that a lot. What does that feel like, and how do you balance life that way with your own family?
Absolutely. I think the reward, it's very humbling. Let me start by saying it's very, very humbling first. I think the reward is, I see it in my kids more than anything else, because for me and Paul, we both did ministry for a long time, like vocational church ministry. And we've seen our share of pastors' kids, right?
Yeah.
And if anybody knows anything about church, PKs,
PKs,
they got quite a reputation.
You can spot them PKs, baby. I know I can. I'm like, yep, you're a preacher's kid.
So we wanted our kids to have a different experience of ministry, right? When we look at the life of Jesus, we wanted them to experience ministry in a way that felt organic, in a way that feels like it's just what we do and who we are.
Yeah.
And we wanted them to experience parents who could set boundaries.
That's
So
good.
like my office is across the basketball court, right? I work really hard to not bring work home. And if I do bring work home, it's because like my kids are sick.
Okay.
Or because I'm sick.
Okay.
Like there are only very specific reasons why I would like bring my laptop back to the house.
That's good.
And because I want my kids to know that when I'm there, like they're my
You're present,
priority,
yeah.
right? And so it's both. It's both the reward of, I think, being able to speak with integrity when people ask me, like you just did earlier, of like, hey, what does the community need? I can say with integrity an answer that's not my making.
Yes.
It's an answer that like is reflective of the text messages that are on my phone,
right,
or the conversations that I've had on the phone, or the phone calls that I've taken. All of that. I think that's the reward, is the integrity of when I'm making an ask of a funder, right? When I'm writing a grant, I'm not writing it from this high off place. It's coming from a place of relationship, and there are faces with all of the things that I'm naming out as issues facing our
I
community.
love that. So you, as Angela, the leader, Angela, the pastor, when did this start for you? When did you realize that you had these leadership qualities and that this was the purpose that God has you on?
It's kind of funny. I'm the oldest of 4 children,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think I knew I was a leader when my family kept telling me I was one, because my family would say to me, Angela, you got to watch your behavior because your sisters are watching, or you have this influence. My grandmother loves telling this story of how her and my grandpa would come and take care of us if my mom and dad went on a trip. And my grandma always says, like, I didn't really need to do anything. Angela was always in charge. Angela always told us what to do, where to go, whatever. And I think I knew I was a leader when people started trusting me as a leader.
Oh, that's good.
So it'd be like vacation Bible schools, right? Being trusted to lead little groups of little kids at 12, right? When families started trusting me with their kids for babysitting. When my youth pastor looked at me and was like, Angela, you talk a lot. And I was like, I know. And he was like, yeah, I want you to preach a sermon in 2 weeks, right? Like
at 12?
I was 15, right, when I preached my first sermon. And so having someone look at me and take this thing that for me, for years had plagued me on my report cards and and the thing that got me in trouble, and he took it and he said, no, this is what makes you a leader. This is a gift that I think people would love to convince you is something that is a negative.
Other than that, exactly,
right?
yeah.
But it's not. It's actually a gift.
So nurturing
exactly.
that gift of communication,
right,
that was on the inside of you.
Exactly. And so I think it's those seeds over time that then gave me the confidence, so that when things started to bloom and when opportunities came my way, I began to be able to say with confidence, oh no, I actually can. And I actually should, and I actually deserve to be in those spaces, and I deserve to have a voice, and it's been an evolution. And I would say even at 38, like there's still layers that I'm peeling back of how capable am I?
Yes.
What are the lies that I believe that hold me back from being able to live into the fullness of that leadership calling? But I think I've been a leader since, my second sister was born.
Well, I'm just curious to know, what was the title of this first sermon at 15 years old? Do you recall the title of the sermon?
Girl, it was a Valentine's Day sermon about 1 Corinthians 13. First of all, what did a 15-year-old know about love? Okay, let's talk about that.
Part.
Right? But that was the sermon that was the passage she gave me.
1 Corinthians 13.
Unpack that, yep.
Sure, you know what? Were they recording it back then?
No. Thank goodness. I think I would crawl into a hole
if you had
and
to die if I had to
go and listen to that.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So in terms of building a team, like how many people do you have on your team, and what did that look like for you? What type of culture have you created within the organization?
Yeah. Our team fluctuates throughout the year because we are a little bit of a seasonal ministry, but at our core, I have a team of 5.
Okay.
And at our height, I'll have a team of about 30 folks.
Oh, wow.
And so when I came in at Harambee, thankfully I had been serving with the organization for a few years before coming in. So I had a lot of the DNA kind of already in me, but I spent about the first 6 months just listening. I would come to staff meeting, and if they needed me to problem solve something, if like a decision needed to be made, no problem. I'm the leader, obviously I can do that. But a lot of it was kind of me just orbiting around them and seeing and observing and asking questions.
Leading with curiosity.
Yeah, so much curiosity, because I wanted them to know that when I was going to start making decisions and making adjustments, it was because it was coming from a place of observation and curiosity, not from a place of judgment
I like that.
Or superiority.
Yeah.
And so the culture that I've worked really hard to build on our team is one of, how do we ask questions? How do we know what our strengths are? How do we play to our strengths? Because not everybody has to be great at everything.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then also, how can we be a place that is as inclusive as we possibly can be, so that anyone who comes feels like they have a seat at the table?
Yeah.
One of our pillars is reconciliation, and not just reconciliation from a standpoint of conflict, but reconciliation of how do we as a team carry hope and healing everywhere that we go. And helping people understand that that's who we want to be. So our goal is that when folks come into Harambee, that they experience family, whole and healed family, like therapy family, right?
Absolutely.
But that they experience that, but that they also experience accountability, and that they also experience asking for forgiveness, apologizing. I am a leader who I will sit, if my team, I'm really grateful that my team feels comfortable coming and calling me out on things that either mistakes that I've made or things that they disagree with. And I'm thankful they give me the opportunity to apologize, because I don't know what I don't know. And everybody has blind spots. And I think that as a leader, if my team doesn't feel the comfort to speak up to those things, man, we're going to be stunted. And that stunting is going to be bottlenecked with me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's, you know what, that's saying a lot, and really finding the balance around that, because we always have to know and understand people's true intention.
Absolutely.
Because I know, as just for me, the founder of an organization, especially in our earlier age, when I would bring certain people on and they had certain suggestions or things like that, and and we're assessing it, it's like, okay, well, maybe, and I'm like, well, that doesn't work. I found people would get upset, or people came in with their own agenda because, oh, it's a new organization.
That part.
Let me put my footprint on this. And it became the battle of what is your true intention behind the recommendation, the advice, and all of that. How do you manage that? Because that was really, really hard for me. Because I'm very open in this, and I love to incorporate people's things, but understanding motives behind certain personality types. Or have you dealt with that?
Absolutely, 100%. The first question that I'll ask is, here's the thing, is like, I have my own discernment, and I can sniff it, right? And I can be like, I don't know if I love that, but it's a better journey and it's an easier no when you guide them to the no. And the question that I always ask is, how is this missionally aligned? Explain to me, if you know the mission of our organization, you know the values of this organization, break down for me how the proposal that you're bringing to me is missionally aligned with the values that we say we care about and with this mission that we're chasing as an organization. And usually what ends up happening is that then they begin to parse out and realize on their own, oh, it's not, this is really about me.
Guide them to the no, though.
Listen,
I like that.
This is about me. This is not about the organization or the students that we serve or the community and the parents that we serve. It's really like, this is something that I'm saying that I want to do. And so usually, and usually it helps the conversation go a lot smoother, because then now I've put the issue in the middle of the room. So now it's not Angela saying no, and now it's not even about your quote unquote bad idea, right? It's like, no, this is an issue that it's not clicking right now, and maybe you either need to work it out a little bit further, or maybe that's something we just put away. And maybe when you're on your own time, you can work out something, but that doesn't need to be here in this organization.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I know I just, when my team members learned that you were coming, because of course, everyone is a fan of just your leadership. I have some team members that are very familiar with your ministry and the work that you've done. And they wanted me to ask you about some of the scars in leadership that you have experienced. What has that been like for you? Like, what are some of the things that you've had to learn the hard way, and you still sometimes even feel the sting of that?
Yeah. One, I thank God for therapy, because I can talk about these things without like melting into a puddle on your show.
Right.
One of the big things that I've had to learn has been that integrity has to matter more than anything else. It really has to be foundational when it comes to leadership. One of the scars that I bear is I had a leader who was not a person of integrity. And it didn't start that way, right? The relationship didn't start that way. This person was somebody that was valued and inspirational and exciting and vivacious and like visionary, right? It was so exciting being a part of this team. And over the years, there was just a turn that began to take where we as the team began to see this person was really more motivated by their own selfish gain than the wellness of the whole.
Really?
Yeah. And so as time went on, and it kind of was a slow build, and then it was an avalanche. And when the avalanche began to fall and things began to fall apart and I began to ask really hard questions, this person was so threatened by the hint of truth and exposure that lying and cover up and self-preservation really became the name of the game. To the point that when I asked this person directly, I looked them in the eye and I said, I need to know if there are things that are coming my way that are going to be hurtful for me. You know my story, you know where I've been, you know what I've been through. Are there things that are coming that I should be aware of? And this person looked me in the eye and said, absolutely not. In fact, you know, we've only got greater things in store. There's only more coming that's going to be better, blah, blah, blah. Over-promising. A week later.
Not a week.
I got laid off. The organization that I lead lost $260,000 worth of support and funding. And then I lost a big chunk of my community because this person lied and was more interested in self-preservation than caring for our relationship. Because when I asked those questions, I wasn't asking them to be accusatory.
Right.
I was really asking the question of, do you care more about me and this relationship than you do about, you know, saving face?
Yeah.
And so...
and to give you time to prepare and process and strategize.
Yeah. And even reconcile the relationship, because in that moment, I could have forgiven, you know? I could have been like, this is hard, but you told me the truth, and I'm thankful, right? And I'm just grateful that at least our relationship can still be intact, right? Because in you, there's still a humility that I can respect.
Wow.
And it wasn't the case. And it was so painful because I walked away feeling like a cog in a machine. I walked away feeling like I was only worth my work.
Wow.
You know, and I think that taught me that pain, that experience was, I mean, it was so deeply traumatizing. Like, I actually went through trauma therapy for it, and the whole year leading up to it was really rough, but that culminating moment was a big one for me. And I walked away realizing that as a leader, if I'm going to make certain decisions for an organization, then I need to be willing to stand up, square my shoulders, and accept responsibility for the consequences of those choices.
Yes.
And if I'm not willing to stand up and accept responsibility for those choices, then I probably shouldn't be making them.
Absolutely.
Because when you're a leader, you're never just making decisions for yourself.
Woo! There is so much to unpack in all of that. Oh my gosh! I feel like I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing you say integrity, transparency, compassion. Like, those are all good. 1 Corinthians 13, if we break it down, for those of you who don't know, read your Bible. 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter. We call it the book of love.
Right.
Where it describes all things that love is.
Absolutely.
And one of those descriptions is long-suffering.
Yes.
And she said, exactly, right? Probably my least favorite one.
I don't know anybody who likes it.
Oh, right. Not a one.
Right.
Not a one.
Right.
So I want to know, just from you, who are some of the leaders that you admire? I'm assuming that the founders are still...
They're still living,
Still living?
96.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're 96?
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, God bless them. Thank you, God, for longevity.
Right.
But I just want to know, who are some of the leaders that you admire? I'm sure them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But who are some of the leaders you're admiring? Because they telling me I got 5 minutes.
Yes.
And I'm trying not to roll my eyes.
Totally.
At them. So let's talk about some leaders you admire.
Yeah. One of the leaders I admire is my dad. My dad started as a janitor at the IBM Corporation and retired a year and a half ago as one of the senior vice presidents of the company, right?
Are you serious?
Yeah, and so he just is a man who, when we talk about integrity and doing the work and being an unseen leader, my dad had done a little bit of everything at IBM, and I've seen him to this day. He leads with a clarity, a kindness, a firm hand, where you know what to expect from him, you know what he expects of you, and there's always a very clear circle of accountability, right?
Yeah.
And a mutual trust with the people that he leads, and he's done that with our family. He did that in business. I've seen him do it in church. I just saw a consistency in his leadership over his life that I admire so much.
Wow.
Another leader that I value so much is my friend, Pastor Myra Macedo-Nolan. She leads the Clergy Community Coalition in Pasadena. Okay. And she is a leader who understands community, understands advocacy, understands motherhood, and she just wears all of these different hats so well. Yeah. And she's able to prioritize and make decisions for what's good for the whole, which I just love so much. And then John Williams, he leads the Center for Restorative Justice. He's like a second dad to me. Wow. And he really taught me the value and the importance of racial reconciliation and biblical racial justice, and really birthed in me this passion for justice, and how, as a Christian, racial reconciliation is not just some side-off thing. It's really a part of our spiritual formation and understanding, one, the American context when it comes to race in America, but then two, how does that impact us as human beings, especially as people of color?
We should have started with that.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know 5 minutes isn't enough time, but
really
I love
dig
them.
I love those folks. So powerful. Okay. You know what, Tige? All right. God, for only 5 minutes. Okay, anyway. So wow, Angela, I just don't even know where to go from just that. But I think surrounding yourself with the right people shapes who we are as leaders. And it's so important to kind of have that person, that sort of that kitchen cabinet, leader that you can really draw from and learn from and grow. So you sound like you're just around some amazing, phenomenal leaders.
People, yeah, and it takes cultivation, and it takes intentionality, because I think also being around those kind of people will make you uncomfortable. It'll keep you uncomfortable, right? That part. And it helps you realize that healthy things grow slow. Those people didn't become those leaders overnight.
Right.
And in fact, it does. It takes work. It takes failing. It takes apologizing. It takes healing. It takes.
So don't be afraid to fail.
Oh yeah, please.
I'm part of a leadership program, and one of the things that our CEO of the program, Kellyanne Hogan, talks about all the time is being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And as a leader, it's showing up in those spaces and with those leaders who are just pouring out wisdom, allowing yourself to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because I've heard you say some things. I'm like, I got to shift a little bit in my seat, because it's some areas that I see where I can grow as a leader, right? Because we are forever growing.
And if any of us ever think we've arrived, it's the day we should hang it up.
We should be scared.
Oh yeah, totally. We should just be like, okay, I think I'm done leading. If I think I've arrived, I'm done leading then. Because you only end up perpetuating harm on these people who are looking to you, who are trusting you to care for them, right? I mean, because there's also a difference, Tige, between a manager and a leader, right?
Exactly.
Right? There's such a difference, and I think that when a manager, you have a good skill set, but when you're a leader, that means that you're exclusively focused on your people and helping them grow into who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? Looking at them and calling out skills and calling out gifts and
nurturing that
and giving them opportunities to try and fail, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It is. And our COO, Raleigh Bowman, who you know,
yes,
he's really, really good at that. I'm always the person trying to prevent you from failing, because if you don't fail, then I don't get upset.
Right.
And we're good. We're real good. So how do I keep you from failing so everybody's happy?
So
I'm
not mad.
So I'm not mad,
Right.
But
totally.
it's really nurturing, because I too am a people's person. I just love people, wanting to see the best and pulling the best out of them. It's just so important to be able to recognize the type of leader you are. And again, just emulate that in front of the people that you serve, because they're picking up on things and you want them to show up and be the best version of leadership that they can be as well.
Yeah, and I think that one of the ways that you can do that as a leader is like tell the truth about yourself.
Yes.
Right? If you're able as a leader to tell the truth about yourself, then you give permission to your team to also do the same thing.
Absolutely.
If I'm willing to go to my team and be like, hey, I am forgetful. So forgetful. And if
Girl,
I don't have
on. I'm a sip. I should have been sipping all along. Hold up.
If I didn't write it down, it didn't happen. And if you didn't write it down and you try to ask me about it later, guess what?
We got problems.
We have big problems, right?
50 million things are going on in this head of mine. I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already in tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm already in next month, to be totally honest with you, right? So memory is that's a big one.
And I say that to my team up front. And so what I say to them if they send me a text message, if they call me, I'm like, send me an email. I'll put it on mymonday.com so that I have it on a checklist, because now what I've given them is permission, again, to hold me accountable. That's good. I don't want to be a leader who, again, can't be helped. Right? We all need help. So,
that's so good.
It's
a
lot.
My God. Angela, it has been a joy. And you know what? I'm just not ready to wrap up.
No,
I know I probably,
me neither.
My audience members are like, Tige, you get so just invested into these conversations, because they're so rich and we all have so much to learn. And I'm just grateful for, one, you taking the time to come and to just share a little bit about what you do. But guys, that is the end of our show. I really encourage you to do those 3 magical words: like, share, subscribe, and just, just really meditate on some of the things that you've heard. Really listen to just some of the nuggets that Angela has shared with us today to help you on your leadership journey. So until next time, stay focused, stay excited about life, and stay purpose and mission driven. All right? Bye now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I hope you were inspired and you gained some valuable nuggets that will help you to become a better leader and to walk in your God-given authority. Bye, until next time.